Allen Lund Company, 47 years young and a proud sponsor, wishes OOIDA all the best as you celebrate 50 years.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Scott Thompson.
You know, there's no guidebook called Trucking for Dummies. That's something OOIDA Executive Vice President Louis Pugh likes to say. And he's right, there isn't. But there probably should be, because becoming an owner-operator and thriving as one comes with a long list of challenges. To ease the transition, the OOIDA Foundation puts on a 3-day seminar called Truck to Success, and another one is coming up fast. Louis and Dee Studebaker, Assistant Director of the OOIDA Foundation, offer up a preview of this year's event. Then what started out as a birthday wish for a young boy who loves trucks has turned into an annual event that draws in hundreds of people every year. We'll check in on the event in southeast Minnesota known as Truck Fest, plus look ahead to the slate of other shows coming up. And then not that long ago, dishonest brokers made a killing ripping off truckers on their skimpy $10,000 bonds, but OOIDA helped put a stop to that. In our continuing series celebrating the association's 50th anniversary, we look at the fight to increase broker bond amounts, which ultimately help protect professional truck drivers across the industry. All of that coming up. But first, the news with Ryan Witkowski.
Thanks, Scott. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is asking for public comment on possible changes to its Safety Fitness Determination program. The agency uses the program to determine if a motor carrier is safe to operate. In a document set to publish tomorrow in the Federal Register, the agency is requesting public comment on the need for rulemaking to revise the regulations prescribing the safety fitness determination process, along with the available science or technical information to analyze regulatory alternatives for determining the safety fitness of motor carriers. Additionally, FMCSA is seeking feedback on the agency's current safety fitness determination regulations, including the process and impacts, and the available data and costs for regulatory alternatives reasonably likely to be considered as part of this rulemaking. The comment period will open tomorrow and continue for the next 60 days. The vast majority of professional truck drivers are stressed out. That's according to a new study conducted by DAT Freight and Analytics. The results come from a survey of more than 500 truck drivers, the majority of whom own the trucks they drive. And about 3/4 of them, nearly 75%, said they find their jobs physically and emotionally stressful. Some other takeaways: drivers said they're missing family time, with 54% of respondents spending less than 24 hours a week at home. 1/3 drive more than 49 hours a week, and they're having trouble sleeping, with 63% saying they sleep less than 6 hours a night. As for solving some of the problems, nearly 46% of respondents said access to mental health services would be an effective way to help them manage stress. But just 40% of male drivers said they would consider speaking with a counselor or therapist about their emotions and experiences, compared to 58% of female drivers. More than $900,000 in cocaine was discovered in a truck at the World Trade Bridge. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said the incident took place on Thursday, August 24th, when officers referred a 2010 International truck for a secondary inspection. According to the truck's manifest, the trailer contained a commercial shipment of natural supplements. Following a canine and non-intrusive inspection system examination, CBP officers discovered 68 pounds of cocaine in the trailer, a street value of nearly $920,000. CBP seized the narcotics, and Homeland Security is investigating the incident. A truck driver was charged in Connecticut last week following a motor vehicle stop. The trucker was originally pulled over by troopers after bypassing signs directing trucks into a station for inspection. Connecticut State Police said that during interactions with the operator, probable cause arose to search the interior of the truck, where a handgun was located. The driver was taken into custody and charged with carrying a handgun without a permit and having a weapon in a motor vehicle. The accused was later released and is scheduled for arraignment on September 13th. A chain of travel centers across Nebraska is expanding and adding hundreds of truck parking spaces along the way. Fat Dog Travel Centers, which operates 7 locations along Interstate 80 in Nebraska, broke ground on 2 new locations last week. The one in North Platte County, opening in fall of 2024, will have more than 150 truck parking spaces. The other, in Lexington, will have more than 30 spots when it opens next summer. And Fat Dogs has another location with more than 70 truck parking spaces opening in the spring in Grand Island off I-80 and U.S. Highway 28. $1.25 million in grants have been announced to help pay for new signals, lights, and other safety improvements at 11 railroad crossings in 8 Kentucky counties. The sites were selected by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet after examining factors such as crash history, traffic type, whether vehicle, train, or truck, physical condition, project cost, and federal railroad crossing scores. The Missouri Department of Transportation is moving ahead with plans to expand Interstate 70 across the state. It's holding a series of public meetings this week, during which it will brief residents on the project and take feedback. Wentzville City Hall will be the site of the first public meeting on Monday, followed by others throughout Missouri over the following days. An online comment forum will also go live Monday and remain open through September 22nd. The project addresses a 200-mile stretch of I-70 between Blue Springs and Wentzville. Enhancements include a third lane of travel in each direction. The new I-80 and I-380 interchange is set to open soon in Iowa. KCRG reporting that the cost of the redesign was around $380 million. The project aims to eliminate ways for entering and exiting the interstates that have posed safety concerns. Tiffin Mayor Stephen Berner said he's looking forward to seeing how this new interchange will impact his community and other surrounding areas.
We're very excited about the benefits of the traffic flow of semi-traffic distribution. We expect distribution places to start looking at Tiffin as an ideal place because it's right in the center of the country.
Officials say the simplicity and efficiency of the new interchange is expected to benefit semi-trucks. And finally, motorists in Washington state had a lot to whine about recently when a tanker truck overturned and closed a roundabout. The incident happened last week at State Road 225 and the westbound Interstate 82 off-ramp in Benton City. UPI reports that the tanker truck was hauling red wine when it overturned, causing vino to pour all over the roadway. No other vehicles were involved, and the driver of the truck was treated for minor injuries. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Ryan Witkowski.
Thanks, Ryan. We do our best to cover all the big stories in depth each day here on Landline Now, but sometimes you might want to go back and get more context. The big stories you hear on the show are also covered on landline.media. If it happened in trucking, you'll find it there, from reporting and opinion pieces to pretty much anything in between. Check it out at landline.media. If you'd like to join OOIDA, you can do it at a discount right now. Just call the membership department during business hours at 816-229-5791. You can join the association or renew your membership for 2 years for $50, a $40 discount. Coming up next, Landline Now senior correspondent Ashley Blackford got the skinny on a truck show in southeast Minnesota. That started out as a birthday wish for a young boy. As Ashley finds out, the annual event has grown a lot since then, drawing in hundreds of people now. We'll check in on Truck Fest, then run down the shows coming up across the country. From there, we'll shift over to the OOIDA Foundation's annual Truck to Success seminar. It's coming up fast, and we'll get a good reminder about what the 3-day event covers for both aspiring owner-operators and even those who have been doing it for a while. Then we'll wrap things up by taking a look at one of OOIDA's biggest achievements over the years in celebration of the association's 50th anniversary. We're talking broker bonds and the move that helped protect truckers all across the country. So we've got a lot of ground to cover, as you can see, as we bounce around the country from topic to topic. So please do stick around. There's more Landline Now on the other side of this break.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Forget accuracy, weigh your truck on a CAT scale.
When you weigh on a CAT scale, you get a no excuses guarantee. You can now save time weighing by using your smartphone. Find out more at weightmytruck.com.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Every year, Minnesota State College Southeast hosts Truck Fest. This year was another successful event. Tom Gierach is a truck driving instructor at the college. He joins me now to talk about the event. Tom, how long have you been a truck driving instructor there?
30 years.
30 years, wow. How did you get into that?
I was a driver prior to that, and I was notified of a position available here in my hometown, and I applied for it.
And you've been there 30 years, so you must enjoy it a little bit.
I do. I honest to God, this college is such a great group of people, from the faculty to the staff. They're very supportive of us.
Now, you've been there 30 years. How have things changed over the years when it comes to the trucking course and people getting their CDL?
You know, I've noticed that obviously the equipment is much more upgraded, more technology. Back 30 years ago, the trucks were not quite as nice as we have today. The training has got more with the new entry-level driver training mandate that came in effect last year in February.
So talk to me about what is Truck Fest?
4 years ago, there was a young boy here located in Winona, Minnesota, that lived on one of our truck routes. And Winona has a lot of truck traffic going in and out of it. And this young boy would sit out on his chair in the front of his house and watch trucks go by all day, just fascinated with trucks. So the grandmother of this young man reached out to one of the people that I do know, knowing he was a truck driver, wanting to know if there was a possibility if they could get a few trucks that would come by his house and, just kind of let him look at it. Well, it was spread through social media, and it got a little bit more than they figured they'd have enough room for down there. So I was contacted, knowing we had the facility here at Minnesota State College, and we had 18 days to kind of put this all together.
Wow.
So at that point, I reached out to as many people as I could, asked for a few volunteers from the community to help me organize and get some trucks here. And he, for his birthday, this was his birthday present, to which we had cake for him. And I can't believe how many of the drivers that did not know this young man, I didn't either, had brought gifts for him for his birthday.
What year was that?
It was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Wow. And so you've kept doing it ever since?
You know what? At the end of that day, I had so many people that come up to me and said, you know what, will you do this again? Absolutely, I will.
Wow. What was it about the event you think people enjoyed so much?
You know what? So many people, if they're like me, as a kid, love trucks, and still today I love trucks. Mm-hmm. But for the general public, a lot of times they see the trucks parked. They may see the truck in traffic at a traffic light or stop sign or going down the highway, but they really don't get an opportunity to actually see the insides, ask the drivers questions, meet the drivers, meet their families, and see the pride that these drivers have today.
And you just had this year's Truck Fest. How did it go, and what were some of the things that you did?
Absolutely incredible. When we first started, like I said, we didn't have much. Well, we had all the trucks and the drivers, but we did not have many activities for the children. This year, we added bounce houses. We had free food, hot dog lunches, chips, sodas, water, ice cream machine. We had face painting. We had horses. It was just a lot of activities for the kids, parents, and grandparents to enjoy, as well as a lot of the trucks and trailers were doing exhibits or demonstrations on how their trailers and how their trucks work. And we had two big rotator tow trucks that were one hooked on each end, raising a trailer up and moving it around. It was really quite the neat demonstration that we did every half an hour.
Yeah, I saw some pictures on Facebook. What other kind of trucks did you have? You had quite a variety there.
We did. We had fire engines, dump trucks, ready mix trucks, cattle trailers, reefers, flatbeds, you name it. We had such a variety of equipment. We also had one of our local businesses, which is called Mississippi Welders Supply. They brought out one of their tractors and trailers, and one of their, I can't remember what the item was called, but they were filling up helium balloons for the kids.
Oh, wow. Kids must have loved that.
Oh, yeah. It was terrific to see.
And what does the public get to do with the trucks and the truck drivers?
The goal of the event, obviously, was to give the public an opportunity that they were able to see the trucks up close. They were able to talk to the drivers and their families about their operations and the trucking industry as well. They were also able to answer questions, for those that are possibly interested in getting into this great career. And plus, there was a lot of horn honking. We all know the kids love that.
That is true, yes. Do you have volunteers who offer to bring their trucks that you do?
Yes. I have 5 terrific people from the community that are more than welcome or more than willing to help us out. And we meet a few times a year and go over and plan, like we're already planning for next year already. And I was very fortunate that there were a lot of the great faculty and staff at Minnesota State College here that were more than willing to help out in advance, take time away from their family and friends to be here to help out. And all of them enjoyed that day as well.
Do you know how many people came out this year?
I'm going to say between 300 to 400.
Oh, wow. That's good.
We had just over 50 trucks.
Nice. Why is it so important from a safety perspective to have kids and adults get that vantage point that so few people get from being up in a truck?
I think it's crucial that we educate and promote this industry to the public. They have a better understanding of it. They gain more respect and appreciation for the truck drivers. They now will be able to understand why we shouldn't be cutting the trucks off, because we all know the trucks and trailers are heavy, large. They're not going to be able to stop us quick. There's a reason we educate the public on not riding alongside of us in our blind spot. If we can't see you, we don't know you're there. Simple things like if you see that a truck is making a corner, don't try to go on the right side of them because that driver may not see you. A lot of times people, I think, I shouldn't say take for granted, but they go to their grocery stores. They just got to understand that the groceries, the clothing, the gas, the automobiles, that stuff at some point in time had to be on a truck, as well as life-saving medical supplies. At some time, they were on a truck.
It's true. What is the reaction from the public when they get to see these trucks up close and personal and kind of get that vantage point that we just talked about?
Smiles. And you've seen a lot of the kids were grabbing the parents' hand or the grandparents' hand and running from one truck to the next, excited.
Wow.
What I also like to see is these truck drivers like so many communities, when it comes to anything for children or to benefit somebody in need, these folks are the first step right up to the plate. They are more than willing to take that precious time that they had for that weekend home with their families and come out here and support this.
The trucking community does seem to be a very generous community. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I really wish I could answer that. Actually, I don't know. Maybe because so many of us are parents, we've got children, and what if something happened to one of our kids? Or what if our kids wanted to do something like that? They just really seem to step up to the plate.
And you as a truck driver and now instructor, do you hope that some of these kids that get to climb in these trucks kind of get an interest sparked in them young, that they, decide that they want to do this for their career?
Absolutely. And, I'm big for education, but there's a lot of folks that are not going to be going to a 4-year college. By promoting this and allowing them to kind of get a feel for this industry, they can realize that these careers are out there, good paying, great benefit, and a lot of these young folks are hands hands-on learners. These trade and technical colleges across the country that have the driver training, that's why we're here. So this way they know they're not going to be in college for 4 years. They're going to be able to get in. Now, my program is 8 weeks long from start to finish. Mm-hmm. In 8 weeks, they are going to be walking out into a great career.
And it's really a career that anyone, can do.
Anybody.
Yeah.
And, it's even though, we're talking on the subject of children, there's a lot of parents that want to say, hey, you know what, maybe I'm due for a change of career.
Mm-hmm. And, we kind of talked about the safety aspect, and I would say it's probably safe to say a good portion of the public doesn't understand, what truck drivers can see and the dangers of that. How do you teach your students how to drive safely on roads they're sharing with people who don't always operate in a safe manner?
My primary word is patience. Patience, never second-guess anything. Take your time.
It's good advice. Good advice for everybody on the road.
Thank you.
So next year, you said plans are already in the works?
Right. That is correct.
And why is doing this event, why is it so important?
Again, my biggest thing is to see the enjoyment of these folks, or the children and the folks, that they're actually able to talk to the truck drivers. I also like the fact of seeing the truck drivers and their families who are very supportive. They'll gladly take the time to answer any questions, to show them, and you can see the enjoyment in their eyes as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, the trucking community is a very generous community, but I feel they're very passionate about what they do.
They are. Absolutely there.
That was Tom Gierach talking about Truck Fest. Even though summer is winding down, truck shows are still in full swing. September is chock full of events. Coming up this weekend is the over-the-top diesel showdown at Onaway Speedway in Onaway, Michigan. On the 2nd and 3rd, ATHS Palmetto Upstate Chapter Fall Show will be happening in South Carolina, along with the No Coast Large Cars Truck Show in Iowa. The 9th will mark the Pride in Your Ride Truck Show in Missouri. The Dodge County Fairgrounds in Minnesota will host the Big Iron Classic from the 9th to the 10th. On September 15th and 16th, the South Dakota Truck Convoy for Special Olympics will be happening in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That same weekend will mark the Busted Knuckle Truck Show that's happening in Oklahoma and the Richard Crane Memorial Truck Show in Michigan. The National Hot Rod Diesel Association World Finals will be happening from the 15th through to the 17th. The Paris, Ontario Fairgrounds will host the Special Olympics Ontario Truck Ride on September 16th. ATHS Hudson Mohawk Truck Show will be happening from the 16th and 17th in New York. The ATHS Vintage Truck Show is scheduled to happen on the 17th in Ohio. September 21st to the 23rd will be the Guilty by Association Truck Show in Joplin, Missouri. There, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association will hold its 50th anniversary celebration. For more information on that, you can visit chromeshopmafia.com. The Joplin 44 Truckers Jamboree will be happening the 21st through the 23rd as well. Clinton County Fairgrounds in Mill Hill, Pennsylvania will host the Truckers for Hope Truck Show from the 22nd to the 24th. The Mayberry Truck Show in North Carolina will be happening on the 29th and 30th. For a full list of shows and details, you can visit our website at landline.media and click Truck Show Calendar of Events under the Resources tab. For Landline Now, I'm Ashley Blackford. Stay tuned for more after this.
You trust PrePass for more bypasses? Now let PrePass help with tolls. PrePass toll service means lower cost, one invoice for all tolls, and fewer violations. Created by truckers for truckers. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Attention all truckers, Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I want to talk to you about those dreaded tax problems. I know you want to keep on trucking and not even think about them, but let's face it, they're not going away all on their own. You need professional help. I've been helping truckers put their tax problems in the rearview mirror for years. I can help you too. Call me now for a free consultation at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. It's like I always say, keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS. 888-557-4020.
Welcome back to the program. We're going to take a look into the future over the next several minutes. First to the near future at the OOIDA Foundation's Truck to Success seminar. That is taking place this October, which itself does a pretty good job looking toward the future to prepare future owner-operators for their new careers. It can even help current owner-operators plan for a better future. Joining us with their crystal balls in hand are OOIDA Executive Vice President Louis Pugh and Assistant Director of the OOIDA Foundation, Dee Studebaker. Dee, Louis, good to see you.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hey, it's always good to be on here with you, Scott.
I know that is with all the sincerity in the world you say that, Louis. It's always good to see you as well. Let's start with the seminar itself, Truck to Success, and we're going to kind of drill down as we go along here. But this is something the Foundation's been doing for a few years now, right? It's been about a few years, I think.
Yeah, it's been a few years. I've been involved in every one of them, and I've kind of lost track of how many we've done. We've done quite a few, and it's been great.
Time kind of blends together after a while. And the idea, let's start with the origins of this, because I think that's important. That'll kind of frame up how we, continue this conversation. The idea of this in the early stages was to help people, right? Because trucking is a tough industry to kind of navigate, especially as an owner-operator. The idea being, hey, let's give people all the help they can get.
Yeah, as I always say, there's no book out there, Trucking for Dummies, that I know of. So,
Not yet.
But, and so that was sort of kind of the idea behind it, because we get so many calls, guys get their own authority, or guys want to buy trucks, or whatever. We get so many calls here in our compliance department with them. That's what kind of, let's create something where people can come and, spend 3 days, and we can really go through, really dig down deep, and we drown them, I guess, with information. It's like drinking from the fire hose, but, they go away here well-armed and well-versed in what they need to be doing. And, it's always interesting, because when the people show up on the first day, they're, half of them are going to be fleet owners in 2 years and 20 trucks and blah, 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 blah. And by the third day, some of them are like, hey, I don't even want to be an owner-operator at all now.
Which is valuable.
Which is
right,
very
I agree.
valuable.
Yes. One of the things that I love about this seminar is most of the people who want to start a trucking company know how to drive, but they don't know how to have a business of trucking. And there's a lot of business information that is necessary.
So much. Yeah, and I think that's the thing that people don't necessarily realize sometimes when they want to become owner-operators, is that you're not just driving, you're doing paperwork, you're doing taxes, you're doing forms and files and everything.
And that's two things you've really got to be honest with yourself about. Do you really like to do paperwork, filing, back office stuff?
Does anybody like it? Honestly.
Yeah, but is it something, but are you really going to do it, or are you going to be that person who blows it off, and then when you get an audit, oh my God, it's terrible? Because that's the first thing. The second thing, you have to be really, really honest with yourself. Are you good at managing money? Because if you can't manage your money as a driver, per se, and there's people out there, you're definitely not going to be able to manage it as an owner-operator a whole lot more money.
Yeah.
I agree, Louis. That is exactly what Truck to Success is designed and built around. Leaning on the experts in the various areas of the business aspect as a resource to start smartly or even improve on what has already been started, because aren't there participants who are all across the board?
Yeah, we've had people who don't even own a truck, who've never been in trucking. We've had people who have been drivers for 20 years or 30 years and wanting to buy a truck. Mm-hmm. And yes, we've had people who are leased to motor carriers with their own truck, and they have been for a long time, but now they want to make a next step and become their own motor carrier. And yes, we have people who've come in who are their own motor carrier, have owned their own truck and an authority, and they're just looking how to tweak and refine their business and maybe learn some better business practices. And it was designed originally as sort of you're a driver, you now want to become an owner-operator and go through all the steps from A to Z to do that. But yeah, it's such a good course that even if you've already owned a truck or you already have there's things that you're going to pick up and things that you're going to learn about that you probably didn't know before.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I have with me a piece of paper that kind of is an outline of all of the different topics. Would it be okay if I just kind of like
Yeah, sure. Let's run through 'em.
Like one is how to gain valuable knowledge to know if you're ready or not. You've kind of already hit on that. One is success is as individual as you are. And this class, one of the takeaways that I really got out of watching one of the sessions was there are pros and cons of doing it I guess, your way. And a trucking company can be as specific or as individual as an individual. And then the other thing is know the rules, know your options, know what to look out for, things to be aware of, and why is it important to remain current in the industry. That's kind of a broad overview of the different big takeaways from this course.
Well, and I think that serves two purposes too. When you look at the list of topics that are covered during this seminar, it's kind of, as you said there, Louie, a wake-up call for some people. And I've seen them, they get in there, and then after a day or two, they do realize, wow, I am not ready for this. Maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, I'll be in a place where this is going to be, a better situation for me to make sure that I do actually succeed in this business. And then there are people too who are serious about this, as you mentioned there as well, who go through this. And what it is designed to do for those people especially is to make sure that they can hit the ground running. These days especially, you've got fuel costs up, spot rates are down. The margins are so razor thin right now that you have to make sure you're squeezing every penny that you can out of your business. And this is designed to set you up for that.
One of the first things they do, because it kind of goes in order, is they developing a business plan, which is one of the most important things. And that hits upon what you're talking about. I mean, we don't sugarcoat anything. We don't pretend like this is something that anybody and everybody can do. We tell you the hard, cold facts. We show you the out-of-business rates on small business trucking as compared to small business, all this stuff. But that's the thing that it shows you. To be successful, the first and foremost thing, you have to know what your costs of operations are.
Yeah.
You have to know what it costs you to get into this business in the first place. And so to be successful, you have to know. And if you don't have that done, you shouldn't even be thinking about buying a truck.
Yeah.
I agree, Louie. That cost of operations, like you said, the foundation does have statistics to show that trucking companies fail not because of the economy, but because of their cost of operations. And there are lots of vendors out there that are competing for truckers' businesses that supposedly help you calculate your cost of operations. But what this session does is teaches you how to do it yourself, so you don't have to rely on an online calculator.
And exactly. And we have some stuff that will assist you here at OOIDA with that as well. And, the biggest thing I hear from guys and gals who want to take this is, well, it's expensive, I got to take 3 days. Well, buying a truck and going into the trucking business, and I can tell you this firsthand because I did it, is very expensive.
Yeah, it costs a little bit of money to get going.
I always look at this course to myself. I was very lucky. I was surrounded by successful owner-operators who helped me when I was young and dumb and didn't know anything and helped me be successful. But I still struggled in the first few years. And a course like this would have expedited the process of being successful or starting to get return on my investment. And I tell people, yeah, you're going to have to take 3 or 4 days off of work, and you're going to have to spend, a few nights to come here live and stay in a hotel and pay the small tuition to take it. But when you look at what it costs to buy a truck and go into business, like I said before, that's a huge cost. It's probably the biggest cost you're ever going to incur next to buying a house, and probably more than buying a house. I know my first trucks cost more than my first house, which that's changed a little bit in the world. But so that's something you really need to think about.
And let me just emphasize one thing real quick here. You mentioned the fact of being in the room. Dee's got a huge binder in front of her, which people attending the seminar get.
Yes.
Which has a bunch of great information in there. But there's nothing more valuable than sitting in that room and having yourself, Louie, and having other experts from OOIDA who have done the job, as you laugh. They are. I mean, they're experts. They've done the job.
I'm not laughing at the others.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes you're grouping me with them.
Hey, you're an expert, man, whether you like it or not. But seriously, I mean, that the value of having that and having that resource there and being able to ask specific questions that apply to you and what you're possibly facing. It may be related to where you are in the country. It may be related to what you're wanting to haul. It could be anything along those lines. But having that person there in front of you, being able to ask that question specifically is really invaluable.
And with that being said, you don't only get that person while they're talking. They're available to you the entire 3 days you're here. And in fact, the last day we bring everybody back. But anytime you need something, if you think of a question for that person like the next day,
yes,
we can bring that person over or get a hold of them and you can get that question
even a week later, month later, year later. Yeah.
Yeah, talking about the networking and the seeking additional information, one of the things that I recently learned at the foundation is that truckers are more educated. I was just yesterday looking at a trend that some of our surveys were revealing, and that there has been an increase in the number of professional drivers who have graduated postgraduate in addition to college, and there has been a decline in the number of drivers who say that their highest level of education is a high school. So my point in saying that is this course is helpful for people, and the education, that's not a good word, the experience, like experiential knowledge that you get from our subject matter experts, I think is helpful, and I think trucking professionals of today value it. What do you think?
I would agree 100%. I mean, the first time we did this course, we had Barry Fowler come in and do the tax thing which to me, as somebody who had a small business for almost 25 years, you're always looking for a better way to do your taxes or things where you can save. Because I always tell people trucking's a money-saved business, not a money-made business. And so if you can save, figure out some way. And some of the stuff that he brought up, I never heard before. And like I said, I had a very successful business and stuff, but I would have liked to heard some of what he said.
So these are tips, right? And let's hit on that real quick, because these are tips on what things you can expense and what things you legally.
And then the other thing he gets into, which we get this call every freaking day, I think, in compliance. Should I be an LLC? Should I be an S Corp?
Yes.
Should I be a sole proprietor? There's so much misinformation on incorporating and not. There's so much misinformation out there about that, and so many people trying to take your money, telling you false things. That's where he's very invaluable on that as well.
I agree. Yeah. I've seen that session, and I have a legal background, and he really does break it down in an easy to understand kind of way. And I'm looking at one of the sections that he speaks about, and this really sticks out to me: most expensive mistakes that cost truckers thousands. And he breaks that down. He talks about failing to plan and what happens with that, and why do you do tax planning. He has, all kinds of spreadsheets that he helps with, and he talks specifically, he answers questions live that are very relevant. And what I observed is that it was almost like the question and answer session and his teaching kind of fed off, and people learned more, and they kind of built somewhat of a camaraderie ship, and hey, what about so-and-so?
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
We sound a bit like an infomercial. And people listening, obviously out there, you're going to take what you can from this, and maybe this applies to you, and maybe you've been doing this for a long time and just want some tips on how to run your business better. Either way, October 17th through the 19th, it's at the Courtyard by Marriott in Blue Springs, Missouri. Just put OOIDA Truck to Success in your favorite search engine, and it'll pop up. Louie, Dee, a pleasure. We'll talk to you again soon, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, and thank you, drivers. Be safe out there.
Absolutely. We're coming up on a break, but stick around. There's more Landline Now on the other side.
Firestone tires are for more of everything. More miles for every tire dollar, and more confidence in your fleet. At Firestone, we help fleets save with dependable value. Find your local Firestone dealer today at firestonetire.com/dealer.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2023 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount. Landline Now, welcome back. It's time for another of our 50 on 50. 50 significant events from OOIDA's history in celebration of the association's 50th anniversary.
We're about to talk about the battle to increase broker bonds, and joining us in Studio A to celebrate the win and break down why it was such a big win are Jamie Jones and Rod Nofziger. Rod is the Chief Operating Officer of the association, and Jamie is Managing Editor of Landline Magazine. Our returning champions. Good to see the both of you.
Indeed. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here as always. Let's take a trip back in our time machine to 2004, a much simpler time for so many reasons, I suppose. But we're going to focus on OOIDA filing a petition then in 2004 with the USDOT requesting that the bond required of transportation brokers be raised from $10,000, which is what it was then, up to between $300,000 and $500,000. We're going to talk about the resolution of all this a little bit here in just a moment or two, but Rod, we'll start with you and just the request. What was behind the request?
Sure. Well, certainly there have been problems and continue to be problems with some folks within the broker intermediary area. Not everybody.
Not all.
But back then, one of the big issues that we continued to see as an organization, as an organization that tries our best to help our members through troubled waters, if you will, was we were seeing where a broker would start just running loads with a whole bunch of folks and not paying those loads for various reasons, whether they simply went out of business or what have you. And so on that $10,000 bond, you'd have all sorts of claims for loads that have already been run but not paid for start piling up. And so the dollar figure of $300,000 to $500,000, that sounds like a dramatic increase, and it indeed was above the $10,000. But where that comes from was that we would see on a $10,000 bond, we would see at times claims totaling $300,000 or more, all going for the $10,000 bond. So what happens in those cases is the bond company would often just sit back and allow for the claims to pile up, and then do an interpleader with the court system, basically saying we can't possibly figure out how to dole out this $10,000 amongst for sake of argument, $270,000 of total claims on that $10,000 bond. So we toss it to the court to figure it out. And so on those things, what was happening is if a small business trucker, often having to retain their own attorney, would go after that claim, they're getting back literally pennies on the dollar, if anything, and, of course, having to pay for a lawyer or just their own time and energy going into that process. So in many cases, nothing was ever paid out. Folks just simply didn't pursue that $10,000. The broker goes on their way wherever they go off to, and the surety bond company doesn't end up being out any money.
It was so easy in that day and age too, because the amount was so low that the brokers would literally close up shop.
They knew.
They knew. Yeah. And they would go get another $10,000 bond and just go into business under a different name down the street. Maybe in the same office, new phone number. I mean, it was. Yeah.
There was a P.O. box in California that had well over 200 different brokers and entities, transportation entities, that all went back to that P.O. box.
That's crazy. So again, the idea, and this is the idea with so many things that the association does, this was intended to protect members, protect truck drivers out there as a whole, to make sure they weren't getting taken to the cleaners, which was happening a lot at that time. Let's fast forward here, because we wouldn't be talking about this, obviously, if it weren't a win here. Fast forward 8 years, 2012. The win came then with a $75,000 broker bond. Not as high as OOIDA wanted, clearly, but a win's a win. This was definitely a win.
It was a game changer.
A game changer. All right, talk about that.
It's not not 100% fix because we're still working on some issues in this area, but it was a game changer. And it really went back to that petition, which did not go through the full final rulemaking process, but our very own Todd Spencer back in 2006 met with the administrator for the FMCSA, Annette Sandberg, and really got things going. So they started on a fact-finding mission, if you will, FMCSA did. That got the attention of other folks within the trucking world, particularly the Transportation Intermediaries Association, who really saw us as kind of the boogeyman at the time. That got them involved because all of a sudden there's a threat of potential regulation coming down their path. And we worked with, for years, we actually did work with the Transportation Intermediaries Association. They're kind of the foremost broker association, if you will, as well as some other entities. And we basically came up to some legislation that we all agreed to. That originally had a $100,000 bond, but then working together with them and some other entities, we got it across the line in the highway bill back in 2005, or I'm sorry, in 2012. Right. Yep. The Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century. That was the highway bill name at the time.
Rolls off the tongue.
MAP, better known as MAP 21. And in MAP 21, it had actually several pieces of broker reform. The biggest one, the most notable one, was increasing the broker bond requirement from $10,000 to $75,000.
I think it's important to underscore that what Rod said, that OOIDA was working with broker associations and different entities. And while that may seem odd on the surface, when you have reputable brokers out there competing against these 270 rogue agents out of one P.O. box.
They don't want them out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why we were able to get, some help from what would be perceived as the other side, because it was going to benefit them to hamper those efforts on those rogue brokers.
Well, and that's a great point, too, because so many things that you do at OOIDA, at the association, it's not intended to, tilt the playing field in favor of truck drivers to the detriment of other people. It's to level the playing field. And specifically what you're talking about there, Jamie, this idea is to make sure that everybody is able to succeed in the environment that's out there. And that's what this did, in so many ways, and also helps with litigation. We were talking earlier. This helps with making it litigation proof as well when you have these people who are invested in it, involved in it as well. Real quick here, we were talking before too as well, $75,000 is the amount now. Not a lot of talk of increasing that at present time, but this does fold into the broker transparency issue. It does. And even that issue of the broker bond and how that plays out, there is a pending rulemaking associated with that is intended to really strengthen or at least make more clear the MAP 21 provisions. And so that's working its way through the regulatory realm as well as transparency. And transparency, actually, if you go back even further, OIDA has been working on broker transparency, for god-awful long. And
forever.
We do have a separate rulemaking that is associated with broker transparency that is also on its way through the regulatory process right now. To be continued. The fight never ends. The next one's coming. Rod and Jamie, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
That was another of our 50 on 50. 50 significant events from OOIDA's history in celebration of the association's 50th anniversary. We'll bring you a new entry every week from now until the actual anniversary celebration. Our thanks to Jamie Jones and Rod Nostiger, and thanks to you for listening. That's our show for today. Check out landline.media for all the latest news from the trucking industry 24 hours a day. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad.
A son.
A husband.
Wife.
I'm a writer.
Photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars. Fishing.
My kids.
Chrome.
And I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.